Hi, it's me. Sorry. Welcome to the stream. I just ate 2 whole French bread pizzas, so I'm just kind of still rocking that high. Uh, Gotta give me a moment because I am trying to find a playlist because the playlist that I thought I had isn't really working. So let's try this one. Maybe that'll be fine. This is probably a good one to go for. Um, Anywho, hi. As I said, it's me. Welcome to the stream. Um, we're doing Minecraft again today. It's been a few months, I think, since we last did Minecraft. Actually, let me check my thumbnails to see when we actually last did it, because it has been quite a while. But I also think I'm burpy because I'm having a Dr. Peppy, because I wanted to have something while I was eating lunch, but I didn't want to drink any of my liter waters because I was going to use that for stream. But now I'm still drinking the Dr. Pepper, so here we are. The last Minecraft was the day before my birthday. Wow. Or at the very least, a couple of days before my birthday, because I made the thumbnail the day before my birthday. Anywho, so I was originally just going to look at a couple of whatchamacallit, public servers that are out there that one of them I frequent often, one of them I have frequented a couple of times, not very often, but I was going to do that, but then the baby update came out, the tiny takeover whatever came out, so we're gonna be looking a little bit into that in game for a little bit. Oh, it's open. Hello. Okay, hang on. Alright, give me a second, because some of the things that are going on is that I haven't updated my OBS, so it's being really weird. Okay, so it loads that fine, but it's not loading Minecraft, right? So let me remove that, then do game capture. So I'm going to do that instead. Okay, there's that. Ooh. Make that smaller. And then scooch that down a bit. Too far. Now we gotta turn this guy off, and then we gotta get this all the way down here. So when I update OBS, hopefully this will be fixed. But for now, we're just stuck with this. We're just stuck with it being really wonky. Let's see how the audio is holding up. Should be fine for the most part, but oh wait, hang on. Properties. It can capture audio. It's probably better if I just, capture the audio via my regular setup. That's probably better. Alright, hopefully that's fine. I checked earlier, I adjusted the levels, but OBS is being wonky because I haven't done the update yet. I'll do it after stream. I have time to do so. But yeah, we're just going to make a new world just to check out the new update. We're gonna just do a little creative world so I can get a chance to look at all the different little animals and stuff. Probably not gonna use too many of the eggs per se, but like just gonna fly around and look at them in game. I haven't actually like gone around and looked at them in game yet. I've seen them online, but that's neither here nor there. Let me get the music started. We got some. This is Delfino Relax Nintendo Summer Mix with Beach. So we're gonna be feeling the summer vibes going on here. It's gonna be in the background a bit. I was gonna get a playlist that like was saying that it's like bug music, but it was all copyrighted stuff, so I didn't want to do that. Bring it up a little bit for me because I'm still recovering. So the reason I haven't been streaming for a while is because I had a cold over my spring break, which kind of sucked. But I've recovered for the most part from my cold. It started last Wednesday. It kind of was on its way out on Monday. So, let's load commands. Let's do creative for right now. Let's do Bitty Babies. Is that a thing? I feel like Bitty Babies was a thing from when I was a kid, but I could be wrong. But anywho, we are back from spring break, and it would have been a better spring break had my, had I not, you know, gotten a cold, and then we had to cancel plans for going places because I didn't want to get everybody sick with my cold. That would have been really bad. We're gonna go down to Hershey, Pennsylvania, which, if you've never been to Hershey, Pennsylvania before, that is in fact where they make Hershey chocolate. Sorry, I'm adjusting things. That is in fact where they make Hershey's chocolate bars. They have the Hershey Park there. I went there once in 7th grade for a school music trip. But did it just get really loud? Oh, it got real loud all of a sudden. Hello. You turn down right now, mister. Yeah, we were going to go to... Oh my god, help me! Help me! Oh, give it a second. Oh, give it a second, it's loading. Oh, okay. Oh, do I need to change the... Okay, oh yeah. I think we have everything on the correct settings. I have God's worst settings because, you know, I'm on a laptop and streaming, and my laptop is very hot and somewhat loud right now, so, this is a laptop from 2020. So that's fun. Anywho, not really anything around here, it looks like. Don't really see any animals at the moment. Okay, calm down. Don't see any animals at the moment. I'm honest, like, honest to God, I've mentioned this, I think, the last time I streamed Minecraft. Like, I didn't even know that, like, fallen logs were, like, a base game thing. Like, vanilla Minecraft thing, when I first started playing this game again. Like, I had no clue that they were, vanilla Minecraft. Because I honestly assumed that they were, like a mod. Like, that just seems so out of character for the game? I don't know. But, like, they've done... Oh my god, it's so loud. I put it down to 5. Gonna adjust my speakers. Maybe that'll help. That might make it louder for you all then. Okay, let me adjust things on here again. I don't... Get your music level straightened out. I did see a sheep. Where did the sheep go? Excuse me. Pardon me. Oh my goodness gracious. Dr. Pepper's happening. Where did the sheep... Okay, I can see... Yep. Here are the sheepies. Here are the regular sheepies. Normal regular sheepies. They're just fine. They're normally regular. Natural blocks? Where's the search bar? There it is. Wheat. Gonna need that. Gonna need seeds. And I'm gonna need potato. Yeah, I know, buddy. So, if we... So here's the fun thing. If we do... Oops! My bad. Sorry, right click, not left click. Then I make the baby. Where is he? there he is! Oh my goodness. Look at you, little fella. Your 1 pixel eyes and your 1 pixel mouth. What a creature, what a freak. It's a good kind of freak. I've been using the word freaks a lot for creatures in video games, and I stole that from a streamer. But I think it's accurate for a lot of different creatures and quote-unquote freaks. Actually, hang on. If this is a lush cave, I don't know how to turn on the... like a gamma filter or something? I don't know how to turn on the gamma filter. Do not know. It's probably an F3 thing. Let me Google that quickly. Gamma on Minecraft. Increase gamma in Minecraft. Howdy! Oh, you just missed it. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh, Jesus Christ. This is the song that I use that's on the theme for my 3DS. I just got a full-blown jump scare. That's insane. But here, you just missed it. We just got ourselves our first little baby animal. They had an update in Minecraft where they updated all the models and textures for all the baby animals. So now the baby sheep, it doesn't look the same as the regular normal sheep, just but smaller. It actually has like little eyes and a little nose, little button nose, or mouth, I guess. And they have new sounds as well. They're slightly different from before. Yeah, right now I'm trying to figure out how to do, I'm just thinking that my 3DS is on, okay, so Optifine has a thing. You can edit it in options.txt. It is not a thing in base game Minecraft that you can just adjust gamma. But luckily for you, I'm in creative mode. E, and then frog lights. We won't spawn a frog. We'll, not yet. We'll look for one. But let's get a frog light and put them down here so we can see where was that hole? Because if there is a lush cave, as they're called, down here, then we can, there's a hole. Then we can potentially see some baby axolotls. That'll be fun. Maybe we'll see a baby axolotl, I don't know. So far it's looking like a regular normal cave, so maybe not. Come on. Yeah, it's looking pretty normal down here. Hey. I did see in the Minecraft Live that they are adding another new update, of course after this one. They always are updating the game. That will be that they're adding sulfur. Just straight up sulfur to the game. Originally the gunpowder was called sulfur apparently in beta Minecraft. I learned that from an SMP where they went back to the beta and stuff. Ooh. And it was called sulfur originally, but now they have like actual sulfur, and then they have like sulfur gas, like straight up sulfur gas pockets in the sulfur caves. But they also have cinnabar, which is a nice it's a nice gemstone. It's like a reddish color, very pretty looking. We do have a lot of, I feel like there's plenty of, if I look through the blocks actually, like, there are plenty of, like, different reds variants that we have going on, but I guess not as many yellow options. Yeah, we have sand, we got, like, gold, maybe the end stone. Oh, we got bamboo, that's some yellow. Okay. And then, obviously, the regular colored blocks. I'm thinking about, like, from a builder's perspective, basically. Like, people who just build in Minecraft. We got bee nest, hay bale, honeycomb block, honey blocks, potentially. Music might be a little bit quiet right now, because God forbid these have consistent sound levels. Yeah, like I'm not too opposed to new yellow blocks being added. That's fine, as well as they're adding a new mob called a sulfur cube, and if you give it a block, it turns into a little bouncy ball. And depending on the block you give it, it will change like its density and like physics. So like you can make it really bouncy or really heavy depending on what material you feed it, which is interesting. That's a fun mechanic that they're going to be adding to the game to help with making mini games and such. I don't think there's a lush cave here. Yeah, no, I'm not seeing it. Alright, we'll go elsewhere. We found a sheep already. So now we're looking for like other regular animals that we can find in the woods. Let's see. Ooh, stop. Animals tend to spawn pretty frequently in general. Oh my god, a ruined portal, like that's something. Cow! And chick! Alright. So now we have our next animals. Here, babies. Here, buddies. Here they come. Give them a moment. They got into the water. Alright, so originally, of course, the chickens, they were just, you know, you breed them together, they just make a smaller chicken. Now we have... Come on. Where is it? I can barely see it. Come on, bud. Come on, bud. Hey. Hi. That's just an orb. That's just an orb. This is just like a Kirby. Look at this thing. Look at that little guy. And do you hear the little peeps? It just peeps at you. Oh, that's lovely. That's fantastic. I love that. Alright, now we got cows. Alright. So the eyes are a little bit different. They honestly look a little bit wonkier. And I think the head is... I don't know if the head's bigger or smaller. I think it's like the same width as his body. Either that or it's like slightly... Oh no, it's slightly smaller width of its body. I think that's the case with the regular cows though too. Oh no, it's getting to be nighttime. Set... time... Set... Minecraft day. Thank you. I don't know how to do commands very well in Minecraft. I'm still learning that. And I think they have, like, they honestly look a little bit stubbier, a little bit stouter than the regular cows, so that's kind of neat. I haven't seen too many baby cows, actually. I've seen a lot of cows in my time. You live in upstate New York, and apparently one of, the top dairy producers. I used to work at a ice cream place, and they made, it was, connected to a dairy production plant. I think that's what they're called? Plants? I think they're plants. Dairy production plant, and like you could see the cows and stuff. So it wasn't so like I've seen a bunch of cows in my time for sure. But I don't think I've ever really seen a baby cow too often in real life. Now, I don't think in the regular game you can get baby squids. However, in the creative mode, okay. So, because I don't think I'm gonna find a glow squid at the moment. We're gonna do this. So so apparently if you click on a full-grown mob with the egg, you get the baby. Oh, his tentacles. They're all bunched up together. Oh no, friend. Your tentacles are all bunched up together. They're way too close together. Oh no, buddy. Oh, what a sweetheart. So that's the regular squid. So obviously the glow squid, if you haven't seen the glow squid before, it looks like this. And it gives you glow ink instead of regular ink, which makes your signs glow. That's the baby. They're a little bit lighter in color. I think they're making noises, are they? Maybe making noises. A little hard for me to tell. Like Yeah, the glow, they're both very, they're a bit stouter, and they have shorter legs, and that's very cute. It kind of reminds me of the Splatoon jellyfish a bit. And of course, we can't do that with fish, as far as I know. You can't, like, breed fish. Unless they let you? I can check. Fish, let me see. Tropical fish, pufferfish, silverfish. Salmon? That's salmon, I think. Hello, Pikmin. Alright, so if this is salmon, let me see if they're... Oh, wait! Hang on. Oh my god. I don't think you can make babies. I'm checking. Yeah, it doesn't look like you can make baby fish. Which is, you know, that makes sense, I know, to me. What else am I looking for? I'm looking for pigs. I'm looking for pigs. And let me get bone. Looking for pigs, and then we need... We actually just... I could have just taken the salmon. We'll take salmon from here. Not, we're already ruining the ecosystem as is. Oh, I think there's baby bees as well. I think there's baby bees. Hang on, daffodil? Dandelion. That's what it is. Let me see if I can breed bees. I don't really know how bees work. I really don't know how bees work. Where did the bee go? Pig! Do you have a friend? Do you have a friend? Hello? Do you have a friend? Oh my god. Do you have a friend? I don't see a pig friend around here. What? Do you not have a friend? Why is there only just one pig here? Oh, there's the bee. Bee got stuck on the thing there. Okay. Well, I don't see another pig, so we're going to do, the spawn egg trick this time. Because I don't know where the other pig is. If there is another pig. Oop. There is! It's a little bit lighter colored, because it's like very fleshy toned. Very black eyes. Oh, ain't this a lovely little guy. Hello, Peach Beach. Ba-da-ba-do. Ba-da-do-bow-bow. They're all just very short and stout and stubby, and it's lovely. It's so adorable. It's very cute. This is the entire point of this, this update, is just to make everything so much cuter. Okay, so that's one bee. Is there a second bee? There are still bees within the hive, I think. I think I can smoke them out. I think that's how you do it, is you smoke them out with a campfire. Which is inhumane. Don't do this in real life. Do not do this in real life. That is inhumane. Do not do that. Do not smoke out bees in real life. Don't do that. Might not be able to. I might have to do the trick again. I don't like cheating like this. I'm not a fan. Okay, so where'd the bee go? There you are, friend. Oop! It's a little bit lighter in color. It looks mostly the same, I think, though. If we compare it to the regular bee. Yeah, it's mostly the same. The wings are a little bit smaller. A little bit teensier. Where did it go? I've lost it. Now. I've lost it. Okay, there it is. Yeah, the wings are a little bit teensier. So are the little antennae. That's fun. I'm gonna see if I can find... Oh. Egg. Let's gamble. Give me a chicken. There he is! Hi, baby. Alright, let me go see if I can find a wolf. They tend to spawn... Oh my god, okay, there's just a dark forest here. Dark oak forest over here. Oh, this is gonna make it so much harder to see if there are wolves around. We're gonna see if there's any wolves or horses. It's probably better if I do it over the birchwood. Birchwood biome. I can't go super fast when my game starts chugging like crazy, so I gotta be careful. Oh wait, the dolphins. Are there dolphins? Oh, nautiluses! The nautiluses, I believe, like, their babies already looked, the Nautilus, they already looked like the update, which is sort of like a, this is the update right before this one. Where'd it go? There it is. So like, the Nautilus, Nautilus baby didn't change that much, I don't think, as far as I know, just because it had already had the plans for the baby update, hi COD, before actually implementing it, of course. So like, this is just like a precursor to it, as far as I know. But I don't see any dolphins. Dolphins? Do we have any dolphins? Any dolphins whatsoever? I'm not seeing any. Oh, you know what we do have though? I don't know what I feed. What do I feed turtles? Oh, I guess you just kind of have to have kelp and then they make an egg. Oh, yeah, that's very complicated. We're just gonna do the regular egg. Where is it? Portal. So originally they were just, you know, incredibly tiny, very small looking things, and now, ooh, eensy teensy. Oh, that's a baby. Look at this thing. Ooh. It has a total of like 25 pixels to its name, but my god, is it trying. World's biggest head. Yeah, turtle babies are so small, and they grow to be so huge. It's insane how turtles work. Especially like the giant sea turtles. Especially giant sea turtles. They get crazy big. Like in Finding Nemo. I doubt I'm gonna find a dolphin. I don't think I'm gonna find a dolphin. Time, set, day. Yeah, I'm not seeing a dolphin. We'll just put a dolphin in here. I just want to see them all in person. It's just easier that way. Dolphin. I don't know if you can get dolphin babies to spawn normally. Do they spawn normally? I cannot catch these things. Oh my god, help. Ah! Its tail is so huge! Why is its tail so big? I can barely see it, but oh my god. Oh no, it's the regular one. Oh, its tail's so big. It's too big for it. Poor thing. Alright, let's get back to land and see if we can potentially find... Oh, there's some pigs. Where were you the last 5 minutes? I lost chat. Oh no. Okay, we're good. Okay, that's the sea, that's another beach. I am looking for dogs. Can we get a woof woof? What was that? I thought I heard a noise. I did not hear a noise. I'm going crazy. I'm going insane. Go crazy, go stupid. Oh, the pigs are right over here! God dang it. I'm not seeing any wolves nearby. Oh, there's a brown sheep. I'm sure a brown, like, sheep baby looks similar. It's just, you know, a sheep baby, but it's got brown fur. Brown wool, rather. That's nothing too spectacular. I'm getting a lot of regular animals. I'm not seeing any kind of dogs, which is unfortunate. Just kind of looking all around this landmass. I will be switching to other servers soon. I just want to see as many of the animals in game as I can. Whoa, that's a big tree that fell down. Birch trees don't even grow to be that big. What are you talking about? Minecraft, you're putting some oh no, they do. I'm immediately proven wrong. Part of me wants to clip that later, but if I can remember it, I will. They're having a little fun beach outing, huh? Look at them go. Yeah, I'm not seeing any wolves. This is unfortunate indeed. Lots of pigs. Lots of pigs, lots of sheep. I don't hear anything dying, so like... I'm gonna delete this world after we're done here. Just, an FYI. Because I don't really have a reason to keep this world. I don't really play in creative that much. Ooh. No, it's just regular chickens. I haven't seen any horses either, but I guess I'm in a big ocean biome right now. Like, really in the oceans. Maybe I have to go through the forest in order to get to the wolves. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. That's strange. That's so very strange. Alright, well... we'll start making some babies. Hello, Mario Kart Wii. Alright, since I can't find a wolf, we're gonna make a wolf here, and we're gonna hope that there are absolutely 0 sheep. There's sheep right over there. There's sheep right over there. They're gonna attack them right away. Oh no. Okay, hang on. We'll put them on the island over here then. So, regular wolf. Here you go. Just a regular old wolf. Very normal. Very white. Very fluffy. And then... oh! Puppy noises. You can't do that to me. Oh, look at his little tail wag. Oh, that's a little guy right there. Look at him go. Yeah? Yeah, buddy. Hi. Yes. Please. Please talk more to me. Please say more words. It's beautiful. Oh yeah, like changed like the wolf barking sound and like I think some of the cats meows. Like there's a pool of different wolf barks now. That changed at some point, I don't know when. But in general, like regular wolves just have different barking sounds. Anywho, I think I have to light these. Well, no, I don't necessarily have to light these guys on fire. But I am going to bring out the cat spawn egg. What is that? Vindicator. Nope. That's not happening. But if I get this guy to sit, then he won't attack anything, hopefully. Okay. So, if you have a cat, see, here's just a regular cat. Come on, love me, thank you. So there's a regular cat. And then... no, come back. I can do it pretty well. Oh, it's got such a big head. You poor thing. You poor creature. Okay, so it doesn't have the light blue on the outside of the eyes either. It's a little bit hard to tell this one because they're white cats instead of like being one of the... I can't. Like, every time the kitten meows, I feel like I'm going to die inside. You need to sit. You need to sit and stop ruining my life by being absolutely adorable. It does in fact have a long tail. I wasn't expecting the tail to be that long, actually. It's still shorter, but it still feels long. Like usually puppy and kitten tails are like really, really tiny. I need to leave this island. I can't be here with that kitten. That kitten's gonna ruin my life. We're leaving. Alright, next on the menu, we got horse. Let's just do regular horse. Cause while you can spawn, babies of the skeleton horses and the zombie horses, you probably shouldn't. It feels a little bit weird. Let's just get a regular horse. Look at this thing. Brown. Majestic creature. And now we have tiny guy. Hello. Its face is so wide. Why is your head so wide? Anyways, we're playing at not Captain's Island. This is Tortimer's Island, isn't it? Yes, it's Tortimer's Island in New Leaf. And it's got think it does in fact have like slightly slimmer legs. I like its little walk. It has a different like walking animation compared to the parent. That's fun. It's just like it looks normal when you look at it from the side, but then when you look at it from the front, it's like that don't look right. That don't look right. I don't know about that. That don't look right. Its face is so wide. I'm having a good time. I'm having a real good time. Can you make baby parrots? You probably can, right? That would make sense. You cannot make baby parrots. We will leave that there. We are ruining the population here. Okay, sheep. Okay, we don't have donkeys yet, and we don't have mules yet. Get those out. We got goats. I think you can make llamas. You can probably make llamas. That makes sense, right? I'm not going crazy. Let's get camels. These are some more common mobs that can spawn. It's going to be night again. Time, set, day. This might end up being a longer stream so I can show both multiplayer servers. I didn't realize how long this is going to take. Alright, so here is a donkey. And I believe if you do like breed the donkeys and the horses together, they can create a mule. So let's actually do that in a bit. Hang on. Wheat. I wrote down white instead. Lord help me. Okay, so a donkey, regular donkey, looks pretty normal. The baby. Why are their heads so wide? Why are their heads so wide? I can't look this thing in the face. It's too wide. It's just all schnoz. It's all just the nose. Oh my god. Okay, hang on. Do they eat wheat? They don't eat wheat. How about apple? Do you eat apple? Do you like apple? Apple? Do you like apple? You do not like apple. Do you like wheat? Oh no, you do like wheat. Okay. Does horse also like wheat? Do you also enjoy the wheat? Are you someone who likes wheat? Okay, hang on. How do I breed them? Hang on, let me get a lead. Haunts. Okay, and then you come over here with, no. Alright, donkey. You're going this way, okay? Because the lead broke off. We gotta do this the hard way. You guys are gonna be step siblings, okay? Let's see if this works. I don't really know how the breeding works with the horses and whatnot. No, it's not working. Okay, apple maybe? Apple? But the donkey doesn't like apple. Donkey does like apple. How do I get them to breed? Do they not breed? Do they not make mules? I thought they would make mules. That's how it works in real life. You get a donkey and a horse together and then you make a mule. That's how the evolution works out. Whatever, I'm just gonna get a mule then. So here's a mule, combination between a donkey and a horse. It honestly looks a little bit like him because it's brown too. And then baby mule. Meow. Hello, fella. Oh, Lord. What a face. The nostrils look like eyes. The nostrils just look like eyes. It's really funny. Alright, now let's move away from the majority of the other animals for this next one, the goats, because they're very aggressive. Here are the regular goats. If you've never seen a Minecraft goat before, this is what it looks like. They're in the mountains and such. Here's a baby goat. Oh, look at that. You call those kids, baby. They're kids. What is this song? This sounds familiar. Mario Party 9, Blooper Beach. That makes sense. Okay. Little guy. Little leggies. Kind of cute. I think he's alright. I think I've been cuted out now. I think I'm all cuted out, maybe. Llamas. Got the llamas. They can spawn just regularly naturally, but you'll most likely see them with, traders. Don't know if you actually can breed llamas to make llama babies in the regular game, but Here's a llama baby. Its head feels squarer. I don't feel like I'm crazy for saying that the head feels squarer. It's alright. I mean, it ain't too, it's cute. It is definitely cute, but, like, I'm already, like, fairly neutral to llamas in this game anyway, so it's just, you know. It certainly is. Camel. Actually, let's put that guy on the beach, because, otherwise it's gonna be a little bit tough for it to live out here. Granted, they don't necessarily need to be on the beach, but I don't have a desert nearby, just the beach. So here's a regular camel. Here it is. Here's a little guy. He likes to smile and be a friend. And there's the baby camel. It's got really thin legs and it's a little bit lighter colored. Oh, look at it walk. Look at it go. Look at his little walk. Little sassy thing. And they still smile too. They don't have the humps yet. They grow into their humps. Go, my steed. Go, my steed. Cool. Well, never actually had a camel before in Minecraft. That's a thing I've never had before. What are we looking at as well? Okay, I don't know if we can make we can probably make ocelot babies. That makes sense. Panda babies, polar bear babies. They'll be really warm here. Rabbits. We got armadillos. We got the axolotls. We couldn't find a frog, so we're getting the frog, and then foxes. We gotta spread these out. Oh, we can just have a tadpole spawn egg. Okay. We just have that in our back pocket. If we so desire. We'll just go through them then. We will put the fox a little bit over here. That's not trying to attack the other animals over there. It might try to attack any animals that are over here, though. Fox! Baby fox! It's a little hard to see because it's, you know, running around and all. Little black dot eyes. Little poopy tail. Little big poopy tail. Oh, that's good. Does the baby fox does curl up. Yes. Yes, good. Oh, they're sleeping. They're having themselves a little nap. Yeah, definitely the ears are bigger. It's like more spaced out. And like in general, the proportions are, you know, different. The head's a bit squarer. So the eyes take up more real estate as well as the snout. Definitely different. Definitely different, yeah. Axolotl. Let's get into the water. Axolotl. Oh, we got a blue one! That's nice! Can you make babies? I don't know how you... Can you make babies? You can make babies! Oh. Hello, little guy. Hi, friend. I only just learned, like, not this morning, I think last night, that there's, like, about 1,000 axolotls that are out in the wild. Right now, they're a very endangered species. Because, someone's making I don't think it's a student film, they're making an animated film about the fact that nearly all the axolotls are gone from the wild and stuff, and that really sucks, you know? Because people really want these guys as pets, like they're just no longer, there's not as many in the wild anymore. I hope there's like conservation efforts going around, like making sure that there can still be axolotls out in the wild. It would really suck if, you know, like we lost little creatures like that. We lost an amphibian. There's not too many of those in the world, you know? Frog. They just look like that. Okay, so I can't just click on it. I have to actually get the tadpole out. So spawning in the frog was useless. But we can spawn in the tadpole, and I think they probably remain the same? I don't really know. I think we gotta put the ocelot way over here somewhere. Way over here somewhere. You can go on top of this tree. Ocelot. Oh, look at that thing. I've like seen an ocelot in the jungle biome like once maybe. Look at this little guy. Little creature, little freak. Hello. Your big green eyes, look at you go. What a friend. Alright, pandas. They're definitely gonna die if I don't plant some bamboo. Let's get some bamboo. I'd feel bad. I already feel bad for what I'm doing to this world. So let's plant down some bamboo as well. Get them a little bit more comfortable. So there's oh. Oh, you poor thing. You're so cold. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I made you cold. I'm sorry. I didn't know this biome was so cold for you, buddy. I'm sorry. Maybe a baby will help. Oh, it rolled! Look at it go! Whee! Oh no, the baby's all so cold. No! I ruined it. No! You poor thing. No, it's sneezing. Oh no, I'm sorry, buddy. No! Now I feel terrible. I'm causing these creatures suffering. I don't know how to make it warmer. I'm sorry, little guy. Oh no. Oh, you poor fella. Here's some more bamboo. Maybe that'll help. I can't fix your cold. I'm sorry. Okay, goodbye. Oh, where do we put the polar bear? This isn't really an ice biome, so, I guess we'll put it here? Hello? You warm? Baby? Ooh! Oh, you chubby little thing. Oh, you chubby little thing. Hello? Hi. Very chumby. Oh, those legs! Look at those legs go! Look at them go! You can hear like the cartoon sound effect. Like that's definitely like a cartoon sound effect type of run going on there. Alright, rabbits? Bunny rabbits? They have new animations as well. They're very like non-Minecrafty, if that makes sense. It's very weird. But they look it's interesting. I'll give you that much. Like their little hops and stuff. It could be worse. I think they did like a complete overhaul on the rabbits, to be honest. And a little baby rabbit. Big head. Big head. Big eyes. Teeny tiny body. Big old cottontail. Look at that thing go. And the armadillo, I still feel really bad about the pandas. I feel really bad about the pandas. Here's a regular armadillo. If you've never seen the armadillo before, they're a relatively new creature to the Minecraft world. Little guy. You harvest its scoots. That's what they call the shell bits, I believe. And then you can make dog armor for your dog in a dog factory. So that's neat. And then baby armadillo. It's a lot pinker. It's a lot paler. Oh, its little legs. Oh, its little legs going. It's going. Oh, it sure is going. Let me see if there's anything else that I could potentially spawn a baby for. I could spawn it for regular mobs, but I don't really want to. All the like villager types and the husks, the skeletons, the zombies, they all got new baby looking mobs as well. I think slimes look normal. I am not spawning a warden. Oh, they probably changed the hoglins too. I don't want to look at that though. They changed the piglins for sure. I remember that. I think that's all though. That's all. Excuse me, yawning. Yeah, I believe that's all of them. So now, we can go ahead and go to a different instance of Minecraft now and do some other stuff because I spent like an hour looking at baby animals. The pandas are still back there, suffering. The pandas are suffering. I've caused this. I'm deleting this world so they can no longer suffer. Let's get out of here. We're deleting Bitty Babies. Bitty Babies has to be something. I'm going insane. Is Bitty Babies something? What was Bitty Babies? What was it? Oh, they're American Girl dolls! They're baby dolls. That's what it was. Yeah. Okay. They were they're American Girl dolls for infants. They have like bitty babies, and then they have like the toddler ones that I don't know the name of, and then they have the American Girl dolls, which you can also get like American Boy doll. The very, very, very expensive, highly manufactured doll company. Let me make sure I have the... Yeah, man, allow me access, dude. Come on. Okay, so I believe... Yeah, there it is. Okay, so play.mc... So we'll do this later. We will do this later, but... For now, we're going to go to a different server. We have 2 different servers that I'm going to show off today, just because, one of them I have been spending a lot of time on, particularly this month and last month I spent a lot of time on. Let me change my skin. Changing to Werehog skin, because that's what I typically play on. I believe it's this one? Yes, it should be this one. Okay. Because I have to change it to my stupid modded, my modded, stuff. Because I prefer having mods. But in general, I just prefer having, the zoom feature, and I prefer having the map feature. As well, this particular server recommends that I have a voice chat, and I also put in, flashback, which is a type of, video recording thing for Minecraft, and then I also put down something called Voxy, V-O-X-Y, which makes it... Oh, I have to update some apparently. Is it open? Did it open? It's not even open. What? Okay. You probably should like Power versions. Update the recommended content by one. We will not update then. Can I please? We're on the flying sandbird again. That game haunts me in my dreams. Hello? I was originally using CurseForge, which is one of the applications you can use for modded Minecraft, but then everybody was like, "Oh, Modriff is so good. Modriff is so good." So like, it's very I don't know. Okay, something's happening here. Something is happening here, and I don't know what. Oh, there it is! Okay, it's there. We got it. Okay, it's there. I don't know if it's on screen yet, but it's there. Yeah, it's there. Okay, cool. Literally just there. Cool. Also try Project Zomboid. I actually have tried that before. I've gone back and forth to it before. That one's a text adventure game, I believe, if I remember correctly. But this is the leg.gg server. It is a family-friendly server that a Minecraft YouTuber / streamer has made for his community, but also for people outside of his community. There's a bunch of different mini games that you can play on it. I originally joined it because they were running some sort of weird experiment thing as part of his February subathon. I feel like I'm dying because my nose is going crazy. But yeah, his February subathon, where he had a, hang on, I can load it. Let me just load it for a second. Okay. Give it a second. Okay. Okay, we're in. Let me open up the voice chat settings. Make sure that that's all correct, Emundo. Yep. Oh, give it a second. So, I originally joined this server because I was getting into this particular streamer. His name is Lagundo, if you've never heard of him before. He's actually streaming right now, but I think he's still streaming right now? But he's streaming the game Peak right now with some friends. But originally, I joined this because there was this experiment that himself and another Minecraft YouTuber by the name of Viking Pilot, who is seen here, were running, called the DMV, where they just put a bunch of people in a white box that was like 50 by 50. No, like, not 50 by 50. 500 by 500 or something like that. And like, every hour on the hour, everybody gets one random block. Just one random item from Minecraft. And so, I joined in a little bit into it. I have a party hat going on there you can get. party hats and stuff. All of these type of servers, they have like little stores and they have like various menuing here. It's very complicated stuff. You get cosmetics and things. I have this for joining in during the New Year's event. But yeah, I joined in a little bit later to this particular server because of that. I do have some pictures from that time actually. I can probably display on stream. Image 9. I gotta go find where the screenshots are on my computer. I believe I know where they are. Screenshots, and then this one. Okay, there's a lot I have here actually. Oh my god. Okay, so by the time I came into here, actually, hang on, I can probably show like, better if I show like my projects more so than anything else. This is a pretty good one. Alright, so there are a lot of people working in various different like corners of the world. And the sky is gray here because they put this in the Pale Oak biome, I believe it's called. Or the Pale Garden biome? Something like that. So they had the sky be gray and it be very like boring and stuff because DMV. So it was just a place where you could wait, and then apparently like 24 hours into it, like everybody was like starting up farms and stuff because they had gotten random items enough to get like saplings and like grass and like they made these communities. So I joined like a week or so into it. So like everybody had already made these communities and stuff. So I came into this the 3 o'clock bells are going on. I got really confused for a second there. Sort by date. So I had joined in and while they were streaming, because I was interested in what this was, and I had already been on the server before, and they had this thing where there was like lines where you could get permits to acquire things, and sometimes you would get those things, sometimes there would be caveats to those things, because they're funny streamers and they like to mess with people. So we were all waiting in line here at spawn, and then there was apparently a dragon for some reason. Don't know why the ender dragon was there, but it was. That was my first day there. I was over there, but I eventually joined into a small little area off to the side where someone had taken me in because I was wearing the Sonic the Werehog skin and they were wearing regular Sonic, I believe, like a regular Sonic skin or something like that. So they're like, oh, you can come over to my place and join my thing. Oh, here's the full map. That'd be good to have. Let me see if I can. No, that's not the right one. How do I crop it? Alt. That's how you crop it. That's cool. Ah! Okay. Hang on. I've never done this like straight up before. I just do it in the menus. But yeah, here's the whole map pretty thoroughly into the way there. My particular area was down in the bottom right corner. I was over in, it was divided into quadrants of north, south, east, and west. So like there was, so the top left corner was the northwest, top right was northeast, bottom left was southwest, and bottom right was southeast. So I was part of the southeast community. And on the bottom, let me actually zoom this in even further. So over in the southeast community, I was over here, and if you can see, where is it? So you see the yellow T kind of in the center there, the yellow cross. Right next to that is a few different like circly bits. My whole thing that entire time I was there was that, actually hang on, how do I reset this? Reset, transform, reset, transform, okay. So my whole thing while I was there was that, I didn't really know what to do, and I don't really know how to build in Minecraft, so I was like, I just like, I had gotten a bunch of mangrove I'd gotten a bunch of mangrove pieces. And so then I started making orbs. I started making orbs out of the various pieces of wood. So it started off with just the mangrove. Oh, the mangrove orb. Might end up teleported into the AFK zone. Okay. Just want to make sure I don't teleport into the AFK zone. So I started off with just the mangrove on the right, and then I added the spruce orb made out of spruce leaves. There was a community area. There's a lot of communal stuff that happened between all the different communities and factions. Southeast had a lot of different communal things going on there, so you can actually see my little house right behind the mangrove. It's the little red thing sticking out from right behind it. Yeah, I had the spore. Then we had, then after that, I decided to use the pale oak because I saw somebody was using pale oak for things, and I was just like, sure, why not? So then I made the plorb. The plorb? I think that was the plorb. Here, let me reset this. Reset transformation. I'm just telling you, like, the story of how we got here, because it's a lot. I'm going really fast. I talk really fast. I apologize. So we have the plorb. Where is the completed plorb? There's a completed plorb. So I didn't really know how to make actual orbs in Minecraft, so I just kind of made, they're more diamond shape, but like with the tips cut off than anything else, the bigger you get. So there's a plorb, and I spent the last little bit of the server, of this particular experiment, because it was only going until the end of the subathon, which was the end of February. So I spent the last little bit doing the chorb, the cherry blossom orb. And those are my big 4 contributions to the entire server. Where is a picture of the chorb? Do I have a good picture of it? I don't know if I have a good picture of it. Uh-oh. I don't think I do. Do I not have a good picture of it? Oh no, there it is. Okay, so there's a chorb. They each, every time they got higher in the sky, but the chorb is also underneath this, you see the little island above it? That's just kind of there. People were making like little islands because, both Laguno and Viking Pilot, who are hosting this thing, are part of a server called Skyblock Kingdoms, where they do Skyblock Minecraft, which is you start on an island with a tree and a treasure chest with lava and water, and you just have to build your way out and just build the entire world. But there's also various. They also had it was a particular mod where you could set the biomes for what you wanted them to be, and like what type of tree you wanted, and like you could have the various different structures that can spawn in Minecraft, but they're just floating in the sky, which is very weird. But yeah, people were making a lot of different sky islands because both of them are part of Skyblock server. So then the chorb is right there. It's once again not really an orb, but like I don't really know how to make orbs. I don't really know how to make orbs in Minecraft. So it's very pointy. But that was definitely the biggest undertaking because that took the most amount of leaves and or wood. Whatever it is that mangrove roots are. Finally finished my Dr. Pepper. That's gone now. I'm gonna be awake for 3 days. Anywho, but yeah, at the end of that, they had like a little end dragon fight to kick it off, but then like they're up to like, oh gosh, how many people were on when it was really busy? It was like not quite 200, but it was like close to 200 people who were all fans of the stream and the streamers. So like there were like so many people that had come onto the server at that point. I mostly did my own thing, mostly stayed, you know, kind of just by myself, as I tend to do in social situations. But I like occasionally would say things in the group chat, in the chat for the DMV. Yeah, and then we had a little, where is it actually? Is this it? That is not it. That is when the warden just suddenly spawned. when they had a warden spawner. Because why not? I don't think I have any screenshots. Oh no, there we go. There's the end. So they put the end there, but then like there were like at least 100 of us trying to fight the Ender Dragon. So like it was really, really fast. So then they put it again like 2 other times and then add like more enemies onto the thing. I'm on my lemonade now. They added like more enemies to the area so I could go for longer. And they would like literally strike people down. The streamers would strike people down that would try to get close to the dragon. So it would be like a tougher fight. And it was neat. I didn't really do a whole lot to the dragon, but I tried my best. I'm not very good at the whole fighting things in Minecraft scenario. But yeah, by the end of that, there was a lot of different community events that went on. There were weddings. People had weddings. I attended a wedding. Oh, I'm in the AFK limbo. There we go. That happens when you go AFK. But yeah, after that, a lot of people were still wanting to do something like that, play around in a little server. So they had already had a little survival world multiplayer place on the server, so a lot of people just migrated over to that. I am one of such people. I had gone and joined it once before, but they have various different mini games here, and what is technically counted as a mini game is SMP+. So it has unique enchantments, you can create your own bases, you can, there's like a little in-game currency there. I have a little house there. Give it a little, ooh, give it a second. I've somehow not dropped frames the entire time I've been streaming, that's insane. Oh, okay, hang on. Oh, I forgot I made a little guy. I forgot the last time I was here I made a little guy. I don't think you can do a Spore multiplayer server, but I don't know. It's a game that's nearly 20 years old, so maybe you can. Is there anybody even online? There are a few people online, 27 in fact. People in yellow, I believe, are all moderators of the server or something like that. And this game is also, this particular server is also available to be, what's it called? Bedrock Edition. I play typically Java Edition of Minecraft, but I've started building a little house over here. I want to make a little guy over here because I thought it'd be fun. Now he's gotten very oxidized. That is unfortunate. I am going to have to deoxidize him. But here's my little house. So if we check the map, actually I have to go on land to check the map because I'm, I would drown otherwise. So I can check the map here. So when you come in, when you first start, let's head over here so you can see. When you first start, you start, over in spawn. This is the spawn area. Oh my god. Okay, let it load for a second. This is the spawn area. You start off here, and then when you first start out, you can claim a land for a week. But in order to create a permanent land base, you need to get 5,000 money. They're like, for some reason it's sun. I don't know why the currency is sun, but apparently this is season 6. Souls is what it is. You can go to vendors and the bazaar as well as the market. You can get you can make money through selling things to the bazaar. And then you can also warp to places. When you first start out, you just warp to somewhere on the map, and then you make a place for yourself to call home. I had originally, where is it? It's up here. I had originally spawned way over here in a random tropical area. But I only stuck on there for like a few minutes because I was way out just in the middle of the ocean. So that wasn't very fun of a starting area for me. So then I came back after the DMV event, and then I had spawned in the middle of a ginormous pale garden biome. So now my house is somewhere over here-ish. That's where I am. There are lots of other different places. Over here, I think is like a general marketplace for everybody on the server. What else is around? What else is around? I don't know what that one is. It's down here. I don't know what that is. I don't remember. Alright, up here there's a bunch of different farms, communal farms for everybody. You just gotta replant stuff back is all. Is this? Yes, and this is the DMV refugee camp, where people who are on the DMV server have established a little community for themselves. They made a lot of interesting structures. Someone made like this little Pokeball looking thing. That's pretty neat. There's some various structures going on here. There's a lot of things going on with the river here that they're building around. I don't live there though. Anywho, let's go back to the postmaster, which is over here. And we get a daily item each day from the postmaster. Where is the postmaster? Over here? Over here? Question mark? Am I going crazy? Do I not have it tested? This is not the... Okay. We're doing this. I don't remember where the postmaster is. Okay. So you get various rewards. Today we have a sharper armor trim. Shaper armor trim. If you've never seen an armor trim before, then you put it on your armor and it gives a nice little design. And you can duplicate them with just an absolute ginormous amount of diamonds. I forgot that I had the fish head on. Don't worry about why I'm a salmon. It's fine. But other things I've gotten from this is my bundles. Every single one of my bundles I've gotten from this. So I have this light blue bundle, then I have the cyan bundle, and I also have the red bundle. And each bundle is inside the bundle. Because I thought it would be funny. Because I learned from Hermitcraft, which is a different Minecraft thing, YouTube thing, that pretty much every, like, you can put as many bundles as you want inside of other bundles, as long as it doesn't like fill up the whole thing. So now we can type lands. Ooh, lands. What is it? Spawn. And then I named my land the only land I know because of course I did. What do you see a creature? When a creature walks around, it's shouting about the park. -2. Oh yeah, I have a baby gas. I forgot I had that. Yeah, I had gas at one point. Let me wax off this guy so that I can make him neat. And so that he doesn't die. There we go. There we go, buddy. Lovely. Alright, so I have my little home here. I originally ran out of like time for my my base to be, so you get in a week to have an established base, and then you have to get enough money to actually make it permanent. I ran out of money. I ran out of time, so I didn't have enough money, and I was like, oh well, that sucks. I couldn't really do anything about it. But then I happened to mention that when people were talking to someone who was new about getting land and stuff, so then they just gave me like $20,000. So now I have this little area. I've been trying to make it neat. I've been trying to make it a little bit nice in here. It's very brown and kind of fleshy toned. I realize that, but like, that's kind of the vibes I'm going for here. I'm thinking of maybe changing these blocks to mushroom blocks. They're currently light gray terracotta, I think. And I have this little flower here that opens up at night. But also this server has like a percentage based sleeping thing, so thankfully if only a couple of people go sleep, then we can skip the night. But I don't think anybody's going to skip the night, because God forbid that this happens. The night is cold and dark and scary. And the terrors are long. Please. Please go to bed. Nobody's going to bed. Alright. Oh well. You have this little area here. It's kind of a weird shape because it was literally just a hole in the wall in the side of the mountain here. But I have a little drowned head because I keep getting drowned nearby. And I have a fish head because I keep killing fish for food. But most of the time I just eat my little sweet berries. I have a little garden here of sweet berries. They aren't the best food, but they're funny. It's more so for the bit than anything else. You also have some pumpkins here. This is where I had gotten the materials to make a little copper golem. And we have some wheat. I haven't used wheat for much besides making packed mud, which is the majority of what the interior of my house is made of. Hello, drowned. You got some carrots here because I was trying to figure out how to... I hate you. To reset that because you can't keep your hands away. You made me reset my carrots again. There's another guy behind me. Oh my god. Finger out of the playlist, by the way. We're gonna switch to another one then. I do have another playlist in mind. The whatchamacallit, the Chicory remix playlist came out. And I played Chicory on stream a while ago. I don't remember the majority of the game soundtrack. But I enjoy it from what I have heard. Let me change the playlist. Unless it just paused. No, it literally it's just very quiet for some reason, huh? Anywho, the packed mud is this stuff. Those are packed mud bricks, and the regular packed mud is, like this thing on the ground here. That particular thing. But I use that. I use some granite. We got some copper here, because that's sort of a similar color. Up here is my original, thing. My original chest area. Well, my various things. You can buy materials at the vendor, or you can also just get materials from doing things in the world. I've gotten a good chunk of my materials just from the world, but also some from the vendors as well. On the pots, I got pot sherds from the postmaster as well, so that's why the pots here. And then we have this chest, which is the newest chest, and then this is more so my valuables chest. Where is my other template? I thought I had another template. Where's my other template? I swear to God, I thought I had another template. What? Where my other template is. Oh, that's weird. What? Huh. Yeah, this game it has different enchants than regular typical Minecraft. It has one called Cubism here. That's one of the ones. Apparently which deals 35% more damage against slimes and magma cubes. It has Infernal Touch, which automatically smelts mine blocks. You get that at the start when you first join the world. That's kind of neat. There was a bunch of skulk down in the basement here. I made a little tunnel down to the basement. There's like a lot of skulk down there. And I was hoping it was going to lead to an ancient city. It didn't. But I collected some of the skulk, and I'm eventually planning on making a thing over here to put all the skulk. And that's why that little island's over there. That's my eventual goals. I don't really have much goals otherwise. Didn't really know what I wanted to do with this particular server. Like I said, I'm not really much of a builder. I don't really know how to use redstone. I don't really know how to farm. I don't know a lot of the cool gamer tricks and tips to successfully play Minecraft, so we're just seeing how it goes. I haven't played in a few days, so it's been a while. Oh, new person. New person joining. That's fun. That's my Italian friend, by the way. So be nice. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are on the server. It's a very nice little chill, family-friendly server. So I do feel weird having to censor myself from text, but like I have this little mine shaft here. Show you a little bit more else I've done. This is where I've harvested the majority of my garnet. It's not garnet, granite. There's a lot there still. There was a hole down. There is a hole down here. There's 2 holes here. This has. Oh, there's my other. That's where it was. Hang on. I should have made the hole 4 deep, so I can make it 3 deep to like 3 tall, let's say, so I can go very fast down here, not bump my head the entire time. But oh my goodness. I don't think I can breathe right now. Give me 1 moment. Minecraft ASMR. So yeah, we have this down here, but we also have over here. I don't remember why I made that. I think I just thought it was funny. Oh no, I just got it randomly. But here's where I'm gonna have my enchanting setup. So that's fun. And then this leads to the outer worlds. The rest of the place. I am directly above a mine shaft, so that's fun as well. So that's one of the entrances. There's another entrance down here to the rest of the mine shaft. That's why you're hearing a bunch of different various mob noises going off. There's a lot of mobs still. I don't have it fully lit up. Hello, bat. But you know, we have the mine shaft here. I've been harvesting some of the oak wood because I don't have oak wood because I'm stuck in the middle of a pale oak biome. There's so much pale oak, it's insane. Good lord. And the closest I can get to something is this taiga over here in the birch wood, which isn't oak. That's not oak. Which is the typical Minecraft wood. Whoops, I threw my pickaxe. Yeah, I just kind of went down here as far as I could, pretty much. And then I was trying to look just to go down a deep slate, or to a bedrock, just to see if I could. But then when I got down here, we landed at lava for a little while, so we made a little pathway for the lava. Let me pull up the chicory playlist, by the way. Chicory. That's the actual food, chicory. That's not what I wanted. Whoops. I keep forgetting that's an actual food because every single character in that game is named after food. Wow. Okay, so trying to pick up where I was in the album. Because I don't have it here. Let me disable this one. I think maybe something like here, maybe? Probably somewhere around here. Yeah, it's fine. So these are all remixes from of songs from the game. It's very neat. It's a very lovely remix album that they put together. That Lena Raine, who is also the composer for some of the songs in Minecraft now, put together. She's a composer for Chicory. She's a composer for Celeste, if you know that game, and she is a composer of some of the discs that you can get in Minecraft. So that's a lot of very fun facts about Lena Raine. There's a connection there. But yeah, we ended up here down in the in a bunch of lava, this big pit of lava. But then all the way over here, there was a lot of, yes, there's still some left. There's a bunch of different little skulk pockets here. So I bought Silk Touch from one of the vendors. And it was, oh, that's very loud actually, isn't it? Oh no, it could be louder, it could be softer. So it was a lot of digging around. And I'm gonna make like a weird sky looking, like a nighttime sky looking orb, maybe, I think. Might be good to do. But yeah, I'm still exploring this area of the little caverns. There's still places and pockets that I haven't fully seen yet, but it's a lot. There's a lot that's down here, and it goes pretty deep. But there's no ancient city over here. I don't know where the ancient city is that's closest to me on this server. So that kind of sucks. But, otherwise, the server's very nice. There's also the DMV area, the refugee area. Ah! So the good thing about this particular server is that if you die, you can go back to where you died and then oh no. In my mind. I'll be fine. Yeah, if you fall down in a hole, you can just go back down there. You have, as it says, you have 5 minutes and then your items will drop. But luckily, I can probably buy it myself. Ooh. Got water. Oh, it does not respawn. If that is the case, I did not know that. I had a lot of stuff. I'm going back down there in case they did respawn. Actually, I should probably get some cobblestone. I'm not going there until I actually... Actually, I need a pickaxe too. Oh. Sure? Okay. Thanks. They didn't really need to do that. I don't know why they did that. They didn't really need to do that. I'm fine. I can just go down there. But okay. But the good thing is that if you're fast and you take it's 5 minutes that you have to get your stuff. Since it's literally just down here, it's gonna be okay. Yeah, that's what I mean by people are really nice on this server. Where was the hole actually? Where the heck was the hole? Where is it? Oh, there! Oh, it is in the lava, isn't it? There it is. Okay. There's all my stuff. So you just grab your stuff and then the thing will... Hang on. And then the thing will disappear after it's done. And the hole is right over here. There we go. Alright, just wait for that to go away. I honestly did not remember that that hole was there. Did not remember that hole being there. Anywho. Let me actually do that. But yeah, it did in fact land in lava. That's unfortunate. Didn't realize that would happen. I really was honestly just gonna, you know, grab some water, grab like a diamond pickaxe, and then get it done. Get it done that fast. But like I have diamonds. I've gotten diamonds from this mine shaft. The majority of the things that I have on myself, I've crafted myself because I accidentally lost a bunch of my stuff that people gave me for first starting. When I first started out. So anywho, it's a very, very peaceful, very nice kind of server. They're all kind of friendly around here. Should I put that down? No. I can always use buckets. I can always use some buckets. Alright, and then let me get my gear all set up. I was on copper for a bit, then I went to iron again, and now I'm on diamonds. I did buy a couple diamonds, I believe, just to get the whole thing. Maybe? Either I just went through really fast with just going through down there. I don't remember. I'm gonna be honest, I really don't remember. No, it goes up there. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, and then this guy over here for right now, this guy over here, that guy there, this guy here, wait, no, hang on, this guy here. My hot bar is kind of a mess, honestly. No, let's put that there for now. I do in fact just leave these 3 open spaces for myself because I like having a clock. I like knowing when it's day or night. That's a thing that I've kept from when I played this game a while back, a few years ago. When I was playing on the Marketoto server back then, and I usually have it like this: sword, pickaxe, shovel, axe, and then hoe. That's pretty much the standard. Though I do sometimes forget if I do this or do this, but I believe most of the time it's this way. And I used to have the shears here, but I realize now that that's just too open, and like I'm keeping my food here as well, so like that's not great. And typically speaking, I have torches in my offhand because I don't usually use the shield. This is a very nice remix. But yeah, that's the whatchamacallit, the legs.gg server. It's a cute little area. Very nice, very cute. I do have a bow and an arrow. I don't have a lot of arrows. I'm probably going to have to buy those, but as well, I have another portal here. I could show off the DMV refugee area, but I also want to show off a little bit of mcci, which is the Minecraft Championship Island, which, if you haven't heard of it before, the Minecraft Championship is a thing that's held every month. That's a competition in various minigames between 40 different content creators in the Minecraft sphere. And that moving TNT to mine. Blast mining. Oh, because they're on like 2 FPS. Alright. But yeah, oh my goodness gracious me, it's an event that they hold every month, that they have 40 different Minecraft content creators that get together and play mini games together. They're all composed into teams of 4, 10 teams of 4, in various colors, and then the teams switch around every month as well. There's a program coordinator for that, who is also a Minecraft content creator, who also participates in it each time. They have this area where you can just do the mini games if you are not like a content creator, or even if you are a content creator but you also just like to play the mini games. which is what the Minecraft Championship Island is for. That's just the mini games. Yeah, just the mini games. You can play them online. You can also go fishing. One of the most famous Minecraft YouTubers named Efo's Labs, is often on there fishing, and I've seen him at least twice, maybe 3 times I think, when I've gone online, and he happens to just be fishing. I've never really spoken to him, because I don't want to, like, I have a weird thing about, like, parasocial relationships anyways, and that I don't want to get too close to people. I don't want to do that to people. I don't want to do that to content creators. That's weird. That's really weird. Don't have a parasocial relationship. So then I do the exact opposite of not speaking at all. Not speaking at all to any content creators whatsoever, as long as I can. And staying as far away in distance as I can without making them uncomfortable. So it's like, it's a very, the minigames are neat. I haven't played too many of them. I played Hole in the Wall, and if you've ever seen the show Hole in the Wall, they had a version of it on Cartoon Network. It's just that. It's just a wall is coming at you, and you gotta jump out of the way. Just gotta jump out of the way, dude. That's it. And then I've also played Parkour Warrior, which is various parkour tricks, so, you know, like jumping around and stuff on various things. There's a lot of weird tricks you can do with parkour in Minecraft, really. But because I typically do running with double tapping the forward key, it makes my fingies hurt very fast. Can't do book. Blast mining. 100% chance to mine blocks in a 3x3 area. Wow, that's neat. Oh, this is the final boss theme. That's fun. But yeah, we can head on over to the that server. I don't think they're gonna skip the night. I'm just gonna head out. And out. Have a good one, everybody. Whoop. Yeah, that's that one. And then we have to go back to the original instance of Minecraft that I had for Minecraft Championships, because that's not here, and I don't feel like putting it on here. And flexing around with the various things that they got. The various settings that they have. We're also gonna have to turn off the music for that. We're gonna spend like maybe 30 minutes over there, maybe? Because I still haven't played all the minigames. I can see all the minigames, but I've never played them all before. And I have no idea who's online. It is the evening time for Europe. And there's a lot of different European Minecraft YouTubers, as well as just people in general in Europe that are into Minecraft. In fact, for there's 2 Twitch cons throughout the year. There's one in the Netherlands, I believe it is. And then there's one in San Diego. Killer fish from San Diego. San Diego. San Diego. But in the TwitchCon in the Netherlands, they Rotterdam, I believe it's called. The place. Rotterdam is the place. I believe it's called. I know that's called that. They have another MCC event that they do there live and in person. They have one that's in San Diego each year. So when that happens in May, they'll have a MCC event going on there. I have a suggestion. For God's sake, it's doing the thing again. Where is it? Where are you? I'm gonna kill you with my mind. How dare you? How dare you? Alright. Window capture. I gotta update my stupid OBS after this stream's over. And I gotta blow my stupid brains out. With tissues. Okay, and then like here, maybe? I think that's fine. And then move that down a bunch. Yay! Okay. So we gotta turn off the music now. Okay. Turn it off because this game actually has music involved. It has some music, so we'll put that on a little bit. Don't make it too loud. 25? 25 is probably good. So Minecraft Championship Island, currently 719 people are online. There's apparently an event going on. That makes the place interesting. I'm turning on my lights. It's a little bit wacky here. Oh my gosh. Okay, hang on. Hang on, they're downloading the resource pack. Hang on. It's coming. Hang on, it's coming. Give it a moment, it's coming. Alright, are we in? We're good? We good to go? Game? Okay, here we are. Event Spirit Blossom. And a new game, Battle Box Arena. I don't know how long it's been a new game. You get a daily login chest. Free daily chest containing some goodies. Increase your login streak to improve this chest rewards each day. And our current rewards are a common reward crate. And then we can get bonus items if we do the stupid membership subscription thing because they need to fund having the server up and paying the people who, I'm assuming paying the people who make the server just in general. Monetization of these various different things is weird. I don't really understand how it all works. So now we have our common reward crate. We get things from that. That's fun. Oh, we get event rewards. Daily Blossom login. You get some leaves for the event currency. Okay, so you get some event currency. The leaves are the currency in this event. You get green leaves. You can trade for items at the Blossom shop. That's fun. Question mark? Okay, I don't remember how this all works. Oh, it's been a while. Oh my gosh, it's been a while. Oh, everybody's just kind of standing here. Spirit Blossom event, so it's right there. So let me see my profile. Crown level. Collect trophies to increase your crown level. Your crown icon will evolve at specific levels. I currently don't have much going on. I did select, you can select the faction. There's 10 different factions that you can subscribe to. Those are the 10 different teams that are in the MCC events. I chose Blue Bats because I like the color blue, and while there is a cyan color and a teal color as well, I think, for some reason, this one's the only one with bats, and I really do enjoy bats. I do enjoy vampires. We have cosmetics. I don't have any cosmetics, I don't think at the moment. We have fishing progress. This is what you get for fishing. You fish a lot. You fish a lot of different fish that aren't normal Minecraft fish. And there's also badges here for playing the different mini games. So yeah, we have Hole in the Wall, Parkour Warrior, those two that I just described. We also have Rocket Spleef Rush. You basically are trying to knock people off of like a decreasing platform with rockets. You get rockets and you bounce off of the ground, and then it'll get you out of there, I guess. I don't know how to describe it. Oh my gosh, it's probably best to see it in action. We'll do that, I guess. Sky Battle is basically similar to what I just described, except more coherent. It's sort of similar to Fortnite in that it's a big arena and you have to what's the word? You have to knock people off of the arena and into an ever decreasing zone until that zone gets to be like 3x3 wide, and then it's just the last few of you left. Battle Box, I think, is even more Fortnite-esque, I believe. Like, Minecraft was the original Battle Royale type of game like that. Not BattleBox specifically, but something like that. Because this one's new. But that's somewhere. General, just regular general stuff. Dynaball, I don't actually know what that is. I don't think I've seen that one before. And then... so to get to the other side is one that's much longer in the championships, where it's to get to the other side and tag a fan, I think is the full name. It's that you have to go through this entire parkour-ish challenge race thing, and then once you get to the other side, you whack something, and then you're done. Just like the fastest win. Journal. Okay, so that's the reward stuff. Infinibag, this is my various loot that I've gotten. Verdant moss. Fun little moss for crafting. We got some coins. We can use to spend on the island. I don't really know how the coins all work, but we'll learn eventually, maybe. I'll probably learn eventually, maybe. I don't know. And then social. We have a friends list we can have. We can put people in a party together. We can make a private lobby if you have the membership fee rank. There's different instances. You can transfer to different ones if you so desire. And pocket menu. Angler panel. This is the fish. That's the fish panel for fishing. Then the navigator. We have our various things. We got battle blocks. Okay, so battle box. Fight your friends as a team of 4 against rival teams. Select special gear each round and fill the central area with your team's concrete faster than your competition. Okay, I confused that one for a different game entirely. I know there's like games that have done that before. I don't think it's Halo, but like something similar to Halo has done that before. And then Battle Box Arena is best of 9 team PvP match. That one's different. Parkour Warrior Dojo is just you train for that, and Sky Battle Solo is solo. 8 competitors challenge for the last player standing. Okay. Dynaball, an explosive team-based game where players work together to destroy the enemy's base while rebuilding their own. Gotcha. Let's take a look at this Spirit Blossom event. You can obtain some new limited and a premium cosmetics from the event machine. They're all tradable. You can earn free rewards from taking part in the activities. You can run the new Blossom races. You can find artifacts in the Hub Hunt. Purchase items at the Spirit Blossom shops. Level up the limited time event pass. And try your luck at the collector's auction. So there's a lot of things over here. Also, if the game looks weird at all, they have a special texture back here that just makes it look like this. So, like, these aren't cherry leaves. I don't know what these are, actually. What are these? What are these? What are you? I can't tell. Thanks, game. Probably because I'm not in the right, not in, like, a creative... Like, I'm not allowed to do that. Like, they are technically adventure maps, these areas here. But, you know, the cherry blossoms look relatively normal. Anywho, cherry blossom event. Click me! So, we discover blossom artifacts, claim our daily meter, complete daily quests, and the fishing event task. Catches where your glitch rod perk triggers will count towards this. So if you do fishing, you can also do things. Somebody's making a lobby to get to the other side. Okay, fishing. Oh, there we go. So there's these various race categories here for various different areas. What a carrot. There are 91 hidden artifacts to find each week on Spirit Blossom Island. 50 uncommon artifacts, 25 rare, 10 epic, 5 legendary, one mythic. So this one's a mythic. That one's legendary. That one's epic. That one's rare. And that one's uncommon. So we can do the races, we can do this little machine here. Oh. So we can buy these potentially. Fascinating. Okay, I think I'm only gonna do this for a little while actually. Okay, so here's a race. I don't really know how to do these type of parkour events. Ooh. Like, I don't really know how to do these, so if I mess up on this, don't. Okay, that's how you do that. Ooh. Yeah, it's it's not very easy, I'm gonna be honest. Not particularly easy, no. Oh, there's a little guy, hello. Oh, I got one of the 25 rare artifacts. Actually, let's look for some of these artifacts, why not? Probably wish another one down here. Makes sense. Let me try going over here. Can I get up on this area? Or no? I can in fact get up on this area, that's fun. That's okay. I'm fine with missing that particular checkpoint. I'm just sort of seeing what this is all about here. There's a lot. Mostly just looking. Like I said, I'm not very good at parkour. I don't know how to do it very well. There we go. Yeah, I'm fine with not being able to do that. It's nothing that I'm really care about whatsoever. But like, if I can make it, that would be nice, you know? Like, I've been watching them, do these fun little events, and that would be neat to like be able to. You watch people do things that's like, wow, it would be neat if I could like do something like that, but like, I am not someone who, I am not someone who will ever be as famous Minecraft speaking as, you know, the famous YouTubers out there. Alright, well I completely fell off there, that's cool. I'm not seeing any little guys. I'm not seeing any sort of little guys around here. Alright, and that's... There we go. Ooh, okay. Very Celeste looking, very Celeste looking, platforming going on here. Okay. Oh boy, this is complicated. Okay. Oh my god. Jesus. Oh, is there anything down here? Any little guys down here? Any little funky little fellas? Funky little fellas? I'm not trying to get a time here. I'm just trying to finish it at this point. If I finish it, then that's good for me. Hey, that's good for me. But if not, that's fine too. I'm trying not to worry as much about not finishing things. I still worry about it. Don't get me wrong, but still. What's up here? I can't get to it. Oh well. If there's a thing up there, then oh well, I'm missing it for sure. Oh, there we go. Jesus. I gotta go back into the ship. Oh Lord, how do I get back in the ship? Huh. Well, there's this over here. Is this skipping something, or? Oh, gotcha. Okay, and then... Oh, I cannot do that. Oh no, you're asking way too much of me if you think I can do that. Yeah, that's not happening. Alright. I know it won't count, but let's keep going, regardless. Under. 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 Special creator rank. Get the verified YouTube content for Minecraft contributors that you should support. More information on the creator rank and how you can apply for one. You can go elsewhere. I didn't read the full thing, so. Oh, that was really good. That was really good, actually. I wasn't expecting that. Let's go through this area. Oh no, that's scary. Oh, that's scary. Oh, I can't do that, dude. There's no way on earth I'm gonna be able to do that. You think I have the skills for that? I barely have any skills whatsoever. What's on this little thing anyways? What's over here? I may not actually do the rest of the areas around here just because this is way too complicated. Whoa! Okay. Okay. Alright. Let's return to checkpoint. I'm like losing my mind. Yeah, there's no way on earth I'm getting that done. That is not happening. Restart race, maybe? Yeah, we're done with that. Okay. I do not know where you fish in this area. Oh, do you fish here? Oh, there's fishing spots over here. At least I think those are what those are. I'm going crazy. Maybe wrong. What's this area? What's this little zone? I can't get up there. That's cool. That's cool and fair and fun. Down here I have to go through, I guess. What's this zone? Huh. Just little set dressings, I guess. This is a neat little cove. Look at this. Oh, little guy. 1 second. Housemate has come back. So I didn't have the door closed, so I wanted to make sure that the door was closed. We're gonna finish the stream soon though, I promise. Cause I'm going to be honest, as much as this is a very neat looking place, it's not really my my cup of tea for the most part. Like, it's neat and all. Don't really think it's for me, though, per se. Laurel Sprint. Oh, what's up at the top of the tower? How do I get up there? Oh, that's how. Gotcha. Got it. Sick, dude. Yeah, that's oh no, 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 no. You have to be joking. You can, fun fact about Minecraft, you can walk on top of candles. However, doing parkour with this is incredibly difficult. Therefore, I've never done it before, really. Great. Ay, ay, ay. Spirit Shop, Blossom Shop. You need bugs for this. What is happening with these characters? I have 10 leaves. I can buy a blue leaf for 6. Okay. I need blue leaves and green leaves. Okay. Okay, I guess. Yeah, I don't fully understand, gonna be honest, so I'm just gonna leave. I think we're gonna call that good for today. I don't fully understand. I don't understand, therefore I'm leaving. But, I'm planning on coming back tomorrow, morning, at like 11 a.m. or so, to play more Layton. And hopefully that'll go okay. But, I have to head out now because I'm going to, just like a non-violence training thing that are doing, on campus that I wanted to go to. So, I was like, what was the music that's playing? It's the music of the actual game. But yeah, we're just gonna head out now. So yeah, I'll be back for that tomorrow, hopefully. And I don't know what will be happening next week. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm losing steam. Sorry. So yeah, it's I don't know when I'm next going to be playing Kirby. That's the issue. It will either be Sunday or Monday afternoon, morning, evening, sometime Sunday or Monday, more than likely, I guess. But we'll see. But until then, I think that's it. I don't have anybody that I really want to raid. I don't think. Let me check. Let me check things. Whoop, 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 whoop. Boy, I sure love how my thing just works. It just works like that. Where is it? Okay. No, that's not it either. That's not it either. Cool. I don't know. So yeah. That's it? Yeah, that's it. Okay. Sorry, I keep stalling. I don't know. I'm trying to do something here. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm trying to do something. Okay. Bye.